to start out with, let me just give a quick overview. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? What's the goals of this? Um, as we said in the blog post, company started a long time ago, and we really did kind of break the mold when it comes to infosec training. At the time, this method of delivery that we take for granted now just did not exist. There was, if you wanted to do remote on-demand infosec training, what you received was essentially audio recordings of someone at a 5-day live training event, and you just listened to those audio items, and that was there's your on-demand. So we came along. We have this online first delivery with labs and videos and PDF and everything, and we were the first ones there doing it. It became very popular, became the industry standard. Very flattering. That's awesome. That brings us to today. Technologies is completely different. If this company started today as opposed to decade plus ago, would the structure of how we do our delivery be the same? If we were starting out from scratch? And the answer is probably no. So the question then becomes, what would it look like? What would be the way of maximizing online first, self-paced information security training using the modern internet, the modern tools that we have, and the items that we're all used to and taking for granted in other areas? How do we maximize those for this purpose of making sure that people are prepared for the workforce development items, et cetera, et cetera? And OffSec Live Pen 200, as we've said in the different blog posts and items, is it's a trial. It's an experiment. We're trying to get and trying to do this as a way of seeing what works and what doesn't. And this is one of our first public attempts. There's a number of changes that we've been making to the company, to our delivery for a long time, but this is a major one. We wanted to do this in such a way where there's no incremental cost, nothing additional would be charged to anybody. So we're not to take part in OffSec Live. It's not going to cost anybody anything. And we wanted to do so in such a way where we're using some of these tools. So how do we integrate our Discord into the learning journey better? Twitch, the Twitch aspect of this has gotten a lot of attention. We have been for the last few years doing online training of it really kind of started with OffSec Academy, where we were not able to do live training like we do from time to time. So we needed to come up with a way of doing that delivery online. The last thing we wanted to do was just take. It would have been easy, but it would have been a poor experience. You could just have the instructor teach the class the same way you do in a live classroom. Just put a webcam in front of them and let them go. But what works in a live, interactive, in-person classroom is not going to work for online delivery. That you just can't do that and expect good, strong, quality results. And so we built OffSec Academy. OffSec Academy has been very successful. We're very pleased with how that is built up. And then the next item becomes like, how do we take the best parts of that and then merge that into this? And so we want to do this online delivery the way we have been, but we decided instead of doing this through a registered item and making people jump through hoops, and if you didn't register, how are you going to connect, et cetera, et cetera. We'll just do it open. We'll do this, the education part, the lecturing part, open on Twitch, and then anyone can join. If you are not a student, you can still access that. It's intentionally open in that manner. But realistically, what's going to wind up happening is it's the same as you're sitting in a classroom. Think about a college class, and you have an instructor that's teaching out of a course book. They're lecturing, and you don't have the course book. You're still learning by being in the classroom for sure, but if you don't have the coursework, you don't have access to the labs, you can't do, you don't turn in papers, you don't get graded, you're getting, it's a different sort of experience. It's not as, you're not going to get the full benefit as if you actually enrolled in the class and you had access to all that material. Very similar. You're able to connect into the stream, watch, But if you're an enrolled student, you have access to the PWK labs, you have access to the LMS, you get a lot more. And so ultimately, that's what we're building this for. Is this is a no cost expansion that is built to optimize the learning experience for Pen 200 customers. It also has the additional benefit of having an open component that people that are not customers can turn around and take use of and see if they'd like to join in. Hopefully that's an adequate overview. And with that overview out of the way, we'll go ahead and jump to questions, and Adam will be kind enough to MC these questions. So then that way I can think about what the words that are coming out of my mouth and not whose questions I'm missing.
All right. So I'm Adam, or FalconSpy. I'm the community ambassador here at OffSec. Just kind of a quick way of how this works, as this will be slightly different from how we do these office hours from our Friday office hours. We won't be allowing audio over this. We are recording. So any questions that are brought up on here, it'll just be Elwood or I on the recording. Just to make sure if anyone's audio shy or anything else, or they don't want to be recorded, they're not being recorded. So if you want to ask your question, head over to the Wireside text channel. The questions will be read in order as they come in. If we can answer it, we will. If we've already answered it, we're just going to skip over it. Elwood, do you want to just say who you are real quick, and then we'll go to the questions?
I always forget the basics, the simple introduction. My name's Jim. I've been working with OffSec for quite a few years, a long period of time. I lead up the Kali Linux project, take care of some items in community, work as management within the organization. So I'm the throat to choke when you don't like certain things. That's and I do a lot of these public facing items as well.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go ahead and just jump straight into the questions here, as I'm sure a lot will be coming in as we go. Again, if we can answer the question, we will. If we've answered it one too many times, we're just going to skip over the question. First in, first out kind of style here. So can non-students ask questions via Twitch?
Can non-students ask questions via Twitch? Yes. The intention is we will have an instructor as well as a moderator, and one of the moderator / assistants, that individual will be taking those questions, and the good ones, passing them over. Obviously, in that sort of environment, you just can't answer everything. We don't know how many people are going to join. We don't know what the flood of questions is going to be like. We have goals of what the learning journey is actually going to look like. That schedule was published in a on our site and also in social media. We can share the links here as well. And so we have to get through the agenda for every one of these sessions. And so that will take into account how many questions are answered. But yes, the intention is totally to have it be interactive and answer questions and provide clarification where it's needed.
Just a quick reminder, please ask your questions in the channel only. Direct messages to Jim or I will probably go unanswered, as we're busy paying attention to questions in the channel and answering those. So continuing on, will streams on Twitch be recorded?
Yes, the streams will be recorded. The recordings will not be open for everybody. If you are a Pen 200 customer, we will have a section within the portal, and that we put all the other supplemental material that is being generated as part of the OffSec Live effort, and you can go back and watch those at your leisure. Again, that's only for actual students. If you're not a student, you can catch the stream live, but you won't have access to the archives.
Is there any specific reason that we, OffSec, chose Twitch over YouTube Live?
That's a good question as well. Mainly because we're more familiar with Twitch. One of the things that has come up is doing a multi-stream and hitting Twitch, YouTube Live, possibly some other places, and stream everywhere. That's something we're certainly taking into consideration, one step at a time. I'd be very interested in hearing what the arguments might be as far as where one platform might be better. We're learning as we go. That's the whole intent of this program. One of the things that we've tried to make very clear, with this announcement is this is a in development, more or less beta sort of effort. Where we start and what the plan is likely to change. And so if we get good input like that, and maybe YouTube is a strong or better place to do, maybe run it concurrently. That's something we're very interested in hearing about. So yeah, give us that feedback.
Do we have any intention of offering this for other courses in the future?
If all goes well, then that would be great. We'd love to do that. There's clearly going to be some courses that are going to be easier to do this with than others, but yeah, I mean that's kind of the intention, is to play around, find some additional models like this that can increase interactivity, provide greater degree of direction and structure. Some students work really well just off on their own and can work through the material as much as they on their own pace at their own schedule. Others, this sort of weekly breakdown of this is what we're going to cover. Make sure you get through it. That additional structure is wonderful for them. And so we would like to offer something similar to this for everything. So as we develop this out, the type of feedback we get, how it goes, that's really going to define what that future holds for us.
Do current Pen 200 students receive any additional benefits for the OffSec Live program compared to non-students?
Yeah, actually a lot more as far as that goes. So getting into like details, if I start breaking the assets of what makes up OffSec Live down into buckets, then it's a matter of like what are those buckets. So I'm going to speak a little bit generically here, but ultimately the assets are the live stream. Number one, that's the one that's getting a lot of attention, right? Everybody can access that live stream, so that's open to everybody. We will have additional support on Discord. If you're on Discord, you know how the role assignment works. The additional support is only going to be open to those that are that have the Pen 200 role assigned to them. So current customers. We will have ancillary material. Such as the best example of ancillary material is going to be like the archives of the live streams. Those are going to be gated in the LMS, available to current students. Also, the other component is we're going to have some special demo systems that live in a different system of the portal. All like how to access that and where to go, where it lives, and everything is going to be explained in the stream. So don't stress that part now, but it's going to be a different section of the portal. And so then that way, if you want to follow along with some of the demos and do them on along with it, these systems will be available for you as a student, and they're going to be exclusive access. We all know how the PWK, the Pen 200 lab works, where it's a shared access item. If you're doing a live stream and there's a few hundred people, obviously everybody piling on and trying to do the same thing in a shared lab is not going to work. That's going to create problems. So we set these up as exclusive access demo systems. And so as a Pen 200 customer, Pen 200 student, you'll have access to those items.
All right. Will you need to be a student to have access to the labs?
Yes. Yeah. The PWK labs, the Pen 200 labs are those are limited to students. Now, there's always other things that we have. For instance, we got like the PG Play. It's not one for one, but it's out there. It's free. You can always take some of the concepts and items that are talked about in the live stream and try to apply it to there. But ultimately, where you want to be is we're building this as an expansion and as a way of assisting the Pen 200 students. So there are, as I said, these other ancillary benefits that non-students can receive, but that's ultimately not what we're building it for. I want to be clear about that, because I don't want anyone to have any false expectations about what we're building. This is not intended to be a product that we put out there for free for everybody that teaches that's just like a free hacking class for everybody. that's not the case. You can watch, that part is open, but it's intentionally built to really be an expansion, a reward for those Penn 200 students.
On the upcoming OffSec Live schedule, there's office hours listed. Is that open for all?
So let me double check on this. That is actually answered in our FAQ. And let me put the FAQ link into the chat here so everybody can access it. So the answer to that one's towards the end of the FAQ. The office hours is gated right now in the Discord to those that have the Penn 200 role. That's again intended to allow students more direct access to our instructors without a lot of noise from others. So we want students to be able to ask questions, get individualized attention, get that TLC. And we're not going to be able to do that in a situation where we have, 1,000, who knows how many people are going to show up. We really need to keep that limited to just the Penn 200 students.
So we do have, just to add on to that, we do have our normal office hours every Friday around 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, at least currently right now with daylight savings. You can look at the top of Discord to see when that is in your local time zone, as we add the event every week. You could probably ask your question there, but it's also kind of in a similar format of what we're doing now, first in, first out in terms of questions. So there's a good chance we might not even get to your question depending on how many people ask questions. Anyway, back to what we have here in the text channel for questions. Can non-students ask questions on Discord?
Your non-students can access the Discord. However, you don't really have the role assigned to you to have that direct access as to what you're asking for. Your best bet, if you have questions, would probably be in the live stream as that moves forward.
When it comes to Active Directory, how do we plan to cover these topics and materials? Will there be networked labs in Proving Grounds? Do we intend to have them before the live schedule starts?
That's a good question. I understand what you're getting at, especially with the concept of again shared labs. I do not want to speak to the specifics of that, especially since AD is further along in the item. I think like essentially what you can look at AD on the current schedule as we have it published is on week 18 in the schedule that we published. That's on page 21. I would take a look at that. But just keep in mind that everything that we have in there is subject to change. If as we move forward, we see that the dates need to move, the way we're approaching things need to change. That's but this is the current plan. That schedule, like I said, week 18 is probably the best place for you to look at it. But understand this is 18 weeks into a new program. I would expect that we will have optimizations that we're putting in place by the time we get there. So it's I hesitate to talk too specifically about that just because of those likely changes that will be occurring.
Besides being live for Q&A, how will the content be different from videos already within the Penn 200 materials?
That's a good question. I've seen some confusion about that, where people were thinking like, oh, these live streams are going to be exactly the same as the Penn 200 videos, and that's not the case. Excuse me. So if you're familiar with the product, you go in there and you have you got the videos and you got the text content. Intentionally, we keep those as close to each other as possible. Some people learn better through reading. Some people learn better through watching videos, and we don't want someone to be left out because they went with one format rather than the other. So that is the videos that we have in the courseware that's part of the curriculum. And as such, it's going to be extremely comprehensive. If you look at the number of hours of content that we would actually be delivering as part of the live stream, it doesn't come close to what those Penn Pen 200 videos actually are. So there's no way to be as comprehensive on that. Again, if you think similar to you're teaching some content from a book, you're standing in front of the classroom, you're not going to teach every single item in the same level of detail as what it is in the book. You're going to hit the high points, you're going to do your lecture, but then you expect the students to also read the book. So no, the videos are not going to be the same. They're going to be much more lecture based rather than courseware based, and you'll have to, if that's a hard one to articulate. It'd be a bit of a rabbit hole to go down there. But if you know anyone that went through our academy program, it's essentially the same thing as what they experienced. So possibly look at some of those reviews that got put out there if you want to get a non biased opinion of how that went. So and as if you're taking advantage of this OffSec Live program, you will be expected to watch the videos, read the content out of the library as well. It's not these lectures are not going to replace that effort. Hopefully that answers the question.
All right, real quick, just for people who are just joining us, this is our office hour, strictly just related to our OffSec Live program that will be launching fairly soon. So anything outside of the program, question-wise, will be ignored for this session. We encourage you to ask your question at our Friday office hours if it's not pertaining to OffSec Live. Questions are being read from the Wireside text channel here on the server. You can see where it is just by scrolling in the channels or looking at the latest announcement. Any direct messages to Elwood or I will largely be ignored. We're strictly just looking at the text channel. So if you have a question, be sure to ask it in there. And continuing back to our questions here, what format will these sessions be in? Will it be theory or will we see some action in terms of VMs?
Yes, it's going to be hands-on. There will be theory talked about, but it's hands-on. That's always been kind of the OffSec style. I know. So when I've taught PWK Live before, it's essentially you come forward, you start out with a theory, make sure that people understand that, and then you go into the practical of the hands-on component of it, and you try to leave off with some sort of challenge, some sort of obstacle for the student to overcome. I won't go down this rabbit hole, but one of the things that if you're ever interested in, if this sort of thing is a fun topic for you, Google out the difference between training and education. And where education is, I'm going to butcher this because I'm speaking so high level, but education is very theoretical, but not so hands-on, where training is you understand the hands-on, but not the theoretical. OffSec, our philosophy has always been to try to balance the two of them. We lean further towards the education than a traditional training vendor. And that's in part why we have things like a certification that does not expire. All of this is intentional and part of our theory as far as like how we educate. We want you to understand not just how to do something, but why you're doing it. And when the tools change, you should have the fundamental knowledge necessary to use a new tool set, to change the tool set yourself, et cetera, et cetera. And if all you know is these are the command line switches I use when I run this tool, that's not knowing the topic. And so our approach in everything we do, including these live streams, incorporates that philosophy.
As a non-subscriber, should I prepare an environment to follow along, or is it considered pointless without the victim of the server lab?
Hard question to answer because we haven't done this before. And like I said, a lot of what we're building out has really been built with the Pen 200 student in mind. I just don't want to leave false assumptions for that. We welcome every non-student, that wants to be part of this and join in. This is why we have put this out there. But again, we haven't really built this program up to this point with non-student experience in mind. We're trying to make it accessible, but really our resources are being focused on the actual students. I think, we've all seen cooking classes before. You get something out of watching the cooking class, even if you're not baking a cake at the same time as watching the class or watching the show, the cooking show. So I expect a little bit of that. Not that we're going to all be Martha Stewart's, on these items, but I expect a similar sort of item. If you do want to follow along, I believe you should be able to take the concepts that are taught and find other ways of putting them together. So I mean, you'll still get something out of it, but again, we haven't built, at least at this stage, we haven't built anything like this to be optimized for that sort of experience. So hopefully that answers that question.
Do we intend to cover newer attacks that are not covered in our course materials?
No. I mean, this is focused on Pen 200 and the Pen 200 curriculum. It's not a new course. It's not new items. It's built towards that, and then with the ultimate intention of preparing people for the OSCP exam. So anything that's not within that body of knowledge would not be part of the scope of this particular one.
Will we publish what box on VoldHub would be good to practice with the content of the live program?
We don't have anything like that set up. Again, all of our resources have been put into optimizing this for Pen 200 students. If you're not a student, we'll have to see how that goes. We don't have anything like that right now. The hard part, it would wind up being how responsive would these other systems be? Like we when we set up a demo, build the target for that demo to be directly tied to the concepts that we're trying to teach you. When you wind up using like off-the-shelf, non-customized items, you're not going to have a one-to-one match for what the goals are. You might have something that's close, but it's not a one-to-one match. So it's odds are you'd find something that's similar. But I don't know that we would want to get into that. From our perspective, and this is a non-committed answer, but I'm thinking this through as we go. From our perspective, one of the things that we don't want to do is give anybody a negative or poor experience, whether you're a paid customer or not. And so if we put together something that's half-baked, that is not going to be great for you. And so the big question is, can we do something like that without it, with it still being a quality experience? I don't know. Again, we haven't optimized our efforts towards that at this point. So time will tell. Again, this is a living and evolving effort, so we'll see what happens.
Will the program cover resource development, things like programming in Bash and Python or any other language?
Yeah, I mean, that's within the scope of the Pen 200 items. If you look at the schedule, I actually put a link to one of the tweets that we did where we linked to the schedule, so you can take a look at that, and that covers that. It's a week by week breakdown of what we're covering and when, what topics we're looking at, et cetera, et cetera. It's again, all subject to change, but you can see what our intent is in terms of what we're covering and where.
What duration will the Twitch streams be per week? And are they once a week for 2 hours?
The schedule is on the FAQ. I put the link to the FAQ in the chat. Again, it's the second to last item in the FAQ. What are the dates, times? It looks like Monday Eastern time, 12 to 1 p.m. That's the office hour. Wednesday, 12 to 1 p.m. is a Twitch stream, and then Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Eastern time, 12 to 1 for each item.
When is the stream meant to be watched in relation to course material? Before or during working through the materials?
The stream itself, you're not really going to want to watch the stream while working through material. The if you look at the schedule again, that PDF that we put out, it really kind of tells you like, hey, this is the content that we expect you to get through before the stream. So you would want to, I'm looking at like the Linux privilege escalation on week 14. It states that before the stream is scheduled for Monday, September 19th. Before attending it, we would expect that you have gotten through the privilege escalations 18.1 through 18.4 in the course content, and you've watched the videos in the LMS 17.1 to 17.3. So we're being very direct on that, right? You'll have to look at the content that we've put out there to see that, but we're being very direct in terms of expected of.
Are all the streams self-contained? Or in other words, do you need to follow them all in order, or can you just jump in at any single point?
There's no harm in jumping in at any point. If you are a Pen 200 customer, you have access to the content, to all the archives of all the videos in the labs, and so you can if you miss a stream, it's no big deal. You can just go back and access the archive.
Would OffSec Live cover the similar resources and examples covered in the Pen 200 exercises and labs, or are we able to use OffSec Live to supplement the lab report?
The lab report's a good question. I would not sync up that scope. Nothing that we're doing in live is intended to in any way interact with the standard deliverables that you have to generate as part of going through the course. We're not to that point yet with this program.
Will the practical aspect be on the lab/challenges on the course, or within play practice boxes within Proving Grounds?
Both / it depends. What systems we use for the demos, you can see our current plans in the schedule, but again, subject change. There's some optimization that we would like to do that we just don't know that we're going to have the resources to do. So some of these items may change as time goes by.
Just a real quick thing. As I'm going through these questions, if we've already answered them, we're just putting in a check mark emoji on there as a reaction, just to say we've already answered them. We're trying not to duplicate questions. That way we can get through all the questions that we can. We will have a recording of this posted later, of this particular impromptu office hour. So you can always check back there for your question, or attend our Friday office hour and ask your question there if you'd like. So back to our questions here. Can I use my Kali machine or use only your labs?
Again, I think this comes down to one of those questions of like, what would I have access to if I'm not a Pen 200 student? And so same answer as the previous items. If you are a Pen 200 student, nothing's different whether you're using live or standard. Do you use Kali in the browser? Do you use your local instance? That situation remains the same as it ever was.
Are student mentors also available in OffSec Discord for answering questions about the Twitch streams outside of the stream itself?
To answer questions about this outside of the stream itself, so if you have questions about the stream when the stream is not active, you would want to ask that in the OffSec Live special Discord channel. That channel is going to be separate from the standard support items, and so that's where you'd want to ask your question. If you ask your question in the wrong place, not all of the student mentors will have been able to catch the streams, and so they just may not be aware. So it is important that you ask in the correct location.
Topic exercises, are they supposed to be done before the weekly live stream or after the session, keeping in mind the recommended approach?
Before is best. But again, like, listen, if you haven't gotten through all the material in the live streams about to start up, that's no reason to not watch the live stream. Best effort to get through the material, watch the videos, read the content, do the TEs. And if you can't, you can't. No, we're not going to come slap your hand, thing like that. But you'd want to get through it if you.
Will students that don't have active lab time be able to ask questions or provide feedback during the live stream, or only for students with active lab time?
Anyone will be able to ask questions during the stream. It doesn't matter if you're a student or not. The fact is, that chat is going to be through Twitch, and we don't have a way of telling within the Twitch chat who's who and whether or not you're a student or whatever. So all questions during the stream are going to be weighted equally, and so the questions that will be answered during the stream will be the highest quality streams.
Are those streams going to cover material in a sequential way? Also, are you showing how to solve the exercise on each chapter?
All right. So the order, you can look at the schedule. That's the best thing to do there. And will we be giving the answers to the things? No. We've said this multiple times. Our philosophy is to give every student the least amount of help necessary for them to solve the problem themselves. If we sat there and just gave everybody the answers, there wouldn't be a lot of learning. And so it is important that you do the work yourself. That's nothing's changing on that. I also see a question that I do want to just address. A question came up of we're begging you to please make the labs free. We can't make our free. Like I appreciate the sentiment behind that, but we got those labs cost a fair amount of money to operate. We have a lot of employees. We got development of additional courses. We fund and support Kali Linux, Exploit Database, Vuln Hub. We got all of these efforts. We got expenses. We got bills to pay, and so we can't. We do as much as we can to put out free items and give back to the community. In fact, I would argue we probably do a hell of a lot more than other trainers. Kali alone is a huge multi-million-dollar expense that we put out there. We don't ask for registration. We put out there for free for everybody to access, et cetera, et cetera. We do a lot there. But we can't make everything free. That's just not practical.
How can someone fully utilize the OffSec Live program if they're not paying for the Pen 200 course? Like, how could they make the most out of the program?
Show up for the streams, engage, ask questions, and we'll go from there. We'll be learning that one together. Again, I don't have a lot to say on that front. Unfortunately, I understand the sentiment. I wish I had a better answer, but ultimately our resources on how to optimize this program has been towards the what we can do for the Pen 200 students. So that's where our attention has been. As time goes by, we'll see, what happens. But ultimately, we're opening the door and letting non-students watch. Beyond that, we'll see how things go. But we haven't put a lot of effort in that area.
After we've completed the live program regimen, will live streams continue and start over from a different teaching perspective?
Good question. We'll see how the program goes. If something like this is successful, say it's successful as is, no changes, that would be great. Then what we could maybe see about doing is set up some sort of schedule where you have one of these going, maybe more than one of these going at all times. We're able to start looking at other courses. Maybe if people are getting a lot of benefit out of this, maybe we can do this for other 200 level, 300 level courses, 100 level content. I don't know. We'll have to see. I would love to have something like that occurring, but we'll see. We'll see.
Are the boxes being covered in the stream the same ones from the labs within the Pen 200 course?
Look at the schedule. It's all listed in the schedule, and again, schedule is subject to change, but that's why we put that out there.
Are the lab machines shown on the stream likely to be close to one seen in the exams?
We're not going to give away examples of the stream. So yeah, the going through this effort, we believe, should help people prepare for the exam, especially if you're somebody that doesn't necessarily work great on an unstructured sort of environment, because it's providing a whole lot of structure in here. So it definitely is built with the goal of preparing people for the OSCP certification. But there's a big difference between giving away exam items and preparing you for the cert. So
if someone's a current Learn 1 subscriber for the Pen 200 course, what do they have to pay to get access to OffSec Live?
If you're currently a student and you already have access, this is free. It's not something that is going to cost you anything extra. That it's meant to be a value add that's here for you to make the situation go well for you. You don't have to pay anything extra for this.
How will we OffSec measure the success of the program?
There's a few factors that we're looking at. The number one item for us is are the students that are engaging with the program, are they getting something out of it? Is our feedback productive? Is it strong? It's also a question of how well does this help educate? Does it help prepare people for the exam better? How the level of engagement, if we go through this and 3 people show up, that's probably not a strong indicator of success. So like how many people are showing up? Those are all factors that we're going to weigh in.
For anyone who's asking where the schedule is, you can find it in the text channel. Thanks to Kaizen Sky, if I pronounced the alias correctly. Sorry if I butchered it. We'll link it also later once we post the recording. It'll be on YouTube there as well. I think we're all caught up on all of our questions here. I think Jim has to leave fairly shortly, or aka Elwood here. So if there's any other questions, feel free to get them in now. Otherwise, we ask that you come prepared for our office hour on Friday to ask then. Otherwise, feel free to ping us in the server. If we're around, we can answer it. Otherwise, we'll get to it when we can.
Yeah, I will say we got our regularly scheduled office hour on Friday. So we'll have another hour. So if you're interested, come to that, register and talk, and we can have more of a conversation. This one, there's clearly a lot of people, a lot of questions. So we're kind of like lightning round of popping one out after another. But usually the Fridays are a little bit more relaxed, and we can get into some more detail, have some more back and forth. You can ask questions via audio. So definitely join us then. I'll be there.
Yeah. Real quick before we, conclude this impromptu office hour, as Jim was saying, every Friday we host an office hour. It's free of charge. It's not specific to any course. It's not locked down to just the OffSec Live program or any specific course. Anyone can attend at any given time. Every Friday at the same time, check out our events here at the top of Discord. Every time we add some new event or office hour, it will be listed there. You can see when the event is in your local time zone. A couple of questions came up about Siren's stream. She will continue to do her streams on Fridays as well, in addition to what's offered with OffSec Live. Her stream is also free. Does not require PG practice. All the boxes she does is either from VulnHub or PG Play. So thank you everyone who was able to join us here today. We appreciate your time and any questions that you had. This audio recording will be on YouTube later for you to listen to. Again, if your question wasn't answered or you just thought of something, feel free to attend our Friday office hours or ask in the server. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.